So I hope everyone enjoyed the lunch. I know we're tight on time, so we'll hopefully get through an overview of Dell's point of view on IoT, but really maybe touch on how it can benefit the people here in the room. So whether you're an enterprise or a business looking to get into introducing IoT, or whether you're a software company or an integrator, to discuss potentially how we can work together on projects. So how does Dell see the Internet of Things? From our point of view, it's not new as such. It's a combination of things that really have been happening for the last 20, 25 years in what is called operational technology in many cases. So this is the sensors and the actuators out there in the industrial world, in various different industry verticals. So what we see really the whole IoT phenomenon is that which has been a standalone siloed world in the overall IT world is now meeting with traditional IT. So traditional IT being, your ERPs, your CRMs, your server storage software, virtualization, cloud, all that traditional IT piece is now meeting in the middle. And that is where a lot of the interesting things are happening for IoT. But also, I guess, where a lot of the challenges are, if you put yourself in the mindset of a CIO or a CTO or even a chief security officer, where those two worlds meet, it really is an interesting place of opportunity and challenges. That's where we at Dell are focused on. To give, that operational technology world, that's it there on the kind of the sensor type world, and the rest. I guess you may be familiar with what Dell do in that space. A lot of you know us as kind of maybe a PC or a laptop company. That is about 50% of what we do, and the other half of what we do is around systems, networking, software, and increasingly analytics. So we're quite well positioned that we've a foot in each camp. So we're good to work with as a partner, but also we have kind of deep relationships in industry that can help us from that point of view. So we, like you, I guess many of you are kind of entrepreneurs from the conversations we've been having today. We like you, we see this as an opportunity to kind of help our customers, and we've been investing in the technologies and the resources to do that. So the good news is, I guess Dell has been diversifying away from just being a standalone PC business for 5 to 7 years now. We've already invested substantially in kind of cloud computing capabilities, but also maybe less known mainstream is around big data and analytics, where we have a product called Statistica. For those of you who follow the analysts, the Gartners of the world, it's up there in the top right-hand corner for big data analytics and modeling. So what we're doing is we're taking the software assets we have that are currently used in various enterprise or cloud type deployment models, and figuring out how can companies take advantage of them in the Internet of Things world. And really where we've looked at our first net new product for the Internet of Things is our IoT gateway. So luckily enough, we've touched on gateways already today, so there's no need, I guess, to start from scratch. But from our point of view, we're building kind of an enterprise class IoT gateway that comes with all the kind of benefits of dealing with a company that has a scale like Dell. So you can order anywhere from 1 to thousands, standard lead time, no minimum order quantity, and they're available anywhere in the world. They can be deployed and supported anywhere in the world. But really what we're focusing on is how do we build this ecosystem of software companies and integrators who can take our gateway and make it part of their overall IoT solution. So we saw a really great presentation from Action Point earlier. They're a really strong Dell partner in the IoT space, and we have one of our gateways outside on their booth, and it's performing some kind of live demonstration that you can look at. But really the main purpose of, or why we chose the gateway as our kind of first product focused on IoT, this concept of edge analytics is really important because we have all these sensors that are creating data, and kind of IoT 1.0 in many cases was sending that right back up to the cloud directly. But as the volume of data grows, the costs grow in doing so, it really makes sense to have some intelligence at the edge that can make decisions. around what kind of data we want to share, what kind of data we want to discard, and what kind of data we want to analyze. So what we're doing is re-architecting, or we have already re-architected our software platform so that they can run in this edge analytics type environment. The other thing that's quite important as you look at building out kind of an IoT framework is, we have some kind of key pieces of ingredients, but if you look kind of down bottom right, really what we're interested in doing is building out the network of integrators and ISVs who have vertical expertise, application expertise, who can work with us on our platforms, leverage our IP and our products and make it part of their solution. So that's really important for us. So I know we've already spoken to many of you today, but those who we haven't spoken to yet, please do come find us afterwards. We'd be really interested in hearing what it is you're doing and how we can partner with you. One thing that we bring from the enterprise world in, and it hasn't been mentioned a whole lot yet today, is on the security space. So Dell have a whole suite of solutions in the enterprise security space that translate nicely into the IoT world. So here's typically, as we move to this kind of multiple sensors, we're bringing them onto the network, we're bringing them from the OT world into the IT world. From a security point of view, that opens up a whole load of new threat vectors. And what we can help you do is incorporate either into your IoT project or an IoT solution that you're delivering to a company or a customer. We have the necessary IP to secure that, to lock it down on the software side of things, from identity and access management platforms, physical and virtual firewalls, and then the endpoint security and endpoint management and encryption on those devices where needs be. So we're taking a lot of the technology and IP we've already developed in the enterprise space and really letting the IoT ecosystem take advantage of that, those capabilities. I guess the other interesting part of an IoT architecture is how do you connect all these things, all these very kind of disparate data sources back to quote unquote the cloud, so whether that's an Azure or whether that's your own private cloud. We have an integration platform. It's a software as a service product that takes a lot of the manual integration that normally is involved with that kind of exercise and automate it. So whether you're an enterprise looking to simplify an IoT project or whether you're an integrator or an ISV, we kind of have an ecosystem there that you can plug into. So where should someone start is always an interesting question. So we talk to a lot of, CTOs, CIOs, and obviously they're hearing the IoT buzz a lot. They know that they have OT going on, but typically it's been in silos, and they want to start connecting that into the traditional IT world. So our advice is quite simple. If you try and do too much too soon, it can be overwhelming. So really it's focus on, something where you can start small, where you already have some sort of skill set or you have a partner who can help you. But from the outset, plan for analytics, right? Architect, even if you're not thinking today and you're an enterprise, you're putting these sensors in there and you're going to collect the data, start thinking about in your designs, how do you architect for analytics from day one, and also think security. So not just security from, who could hack the data, but think about it really in the context of data sovereignty. Where is the data going to reside? Am I going to be compliant? So in the kind of consumer world, sometimes there's less concern about these things, but in large enterprise and when you're dealing with customer data, these things really become important. So it's important to, from day one, to try and build those in. Now, that's all pretty daunting, and a lot of it is kind of easier said than done. And one of the messages I've taken from today is that, there is no silver bullet for the Internet of Things. There is no one vendor who has everything. And we would really echo that. So what really we're open to doing is helping partners, software companies and enterprises who are kind of going on this IoT journey or helping customers along the way. We've invested in 3 Internet of Things labs around the world. One of them, our European, Middle East and Africa lab, is based here in Limerick in Ireland, which is great because Ireland does seem to be such a hotbed of IoT activity. So that's where customers can come and they can try out our platforms, but they can also work with the action points of the world to name kind of one partner that we're working closely with, but also multiple software vendors and integrators. You're welcome to bring your customers to our labs to let them try out how your platforms interact with, you know, our kind of reference architectures. So we'll be obviously around today to, you know, come talk to us about how you might kind of work with us there. We're putting a call out to, you know, help us build the industrial IoT ecosystem. Our focus is in that kind of industrial automation, transport, agriculture, smart buildings, smart cities. That's really where we think our strengths can help. So we're looking for the partners, the emerging ISVs, you know, to come talk to us about what we can do, because we'll go through some real world examples now, but we actually have, you know, we're putting our money where our mouth is. We have a contest for software companies or IoT companies to build your product on our gateway platform or base it on our other technologies, and we'll invest in you to do that. And the competition is open until the end of March. There's already been huge interest globally, already some interest from Ireland, which is great to see. So please do, the URL is there, it's dellconnectwhatmatters.com. You'll find out more information about how, if you're interested, you can participate in that. And kind of just as a comment, Dell, we are a pretty entrepreneurial company. We are big, we are large, but we're also privately held. And that makes us kind of nimble enough to make investments in these areas for the long term without having to deliver immediate short-term results for, you know, Wall Street, shareholders, that kind of thing. So being privately held makes us a little bit more nimble, and hopefully you'll find we're a little bit more kind of entrepreneurial and kind of we have a roll up our sleeves attitude to working with, you know, new startups, partners, integrators getting into the IoT space. And just to wrap up, it's always nice to talk about, you know, what are we actually doing in our labs. So we won't go into specific end users, but we can talk about some POCs, proof of concepts that we're running today or in the recent past that are delivering real world results. So this one is in the, what you'd call, I guess, smart buildings or the buildings automation space. So there's a facilities management company. They have 2,000 boiler rooms under control. The way they've done things to date is, you know, a crew in a van who call out every couple of weeks to, you know, do a kind of checklist on site, right? Now there's significant cost every time they do that. There's the cost, the travel, you know, human error, collecting the data, analyzing it. What we're working with them to do is to put in place our gateway, some third-party software and some, you know, sensors that can detect things like if there's any oil spills, any motion, if anything's going on site that shouldn't be, well then that can send an alert and then they know that's the time to send out a technician on site, rather than have someone periodically going out every 2 or 3 weeks, wasted journey. So things like that is like real world efficiencies. It's not, right, it's not as sexy or as glamorous as something like Nest or Fitbit. It's not going to capture the imagination of the broad public who are kind of focused on consumer IoT, where a lot of the hype is. But these are real world examples of where we're working with industry today. And I will say every single one of these examples, we're working with integrator partners and software partners who are adding either the secret sauce or the execution capability to our platforms. This is an interesting case study. It comes from the automotive space, where we have an end customer who manufactures a very expensive component that goes into a high-end luxury vehicle. It's a kind of a piano black gear stick. So, because, you know, in the world of automotive, there's rigorous compliance from a safety perspective that has to go into every component that goes into a vehicle. So getting the component built to the safety spec has a considerable cost. No one wants a gear stick that's going to, you know, break or malfunction unexpectedly. So there's a huge cost in getting the product to that stage. And then at the final stage of production, the manufacturer adds that nice glossy piano black finish. And that's quite tricky to do. There's some special machinery involved, and there's a huge failure rate as it happens at that last stage. So, you know, they were experiencing a failure rate of 70 to 80%, which meant an awful lot of wastage of time that had been invested in manufacturing a perfect component up to that. What we're doing is working with our partners who are leading the engagement for us and incorporating our data analytics software. What we've done is managed to observe the environment for the perfect outcome of how the ideal gear stick is made. And so now we know how we can help them make that repeatable. So if you think of all the variables there could be on a given day, there could be higher level humidity, temperature could have fallen, there could have been dust, there could have been some event, there could have been 2 people in the lab, or what we do is look at all the variables, hundreds of variables, and then just repeat the experiment so we can generate for the manufacturer the perfect environment for manufacturing that component. And that's kind of another example of taking different components. So we're taking the kind of the gateway, we're taking the analytics software, but then really it's our partners who help deliver that, and they deliver the consulting expertise, and they'll help the ultimately the manufacturer deploy that. And here's quite a nice one that you might think that this is about, prevention of crime or security. Really what this is about is for ATM companies on the continent where they have these kind of remote ATMs that are placed in these kind of cabins. It's actually, they aren't really too concerned if someone steals the money. What they're interested in doing is reducing cost of insuring the ATMs, because that's a huge cost for them. So what they want to do is be able to lower the risk profile of insuring these assets across the continent with their insurance partners. So what we're working on here is, a very, very kind of clean, elegant solution that combines sensors, CCTV, which is increasingly, cameras are in fact becoming sensors, to help them reduce the risk of an incident happening at the ATM machines. And that's one that is going through a successful proof of concept. Again, we're working with a software partner who has intelligence and expertise in the kind of finance, any kind of an ATM applications, and we're working with them to design this solution, and the proof of concepts have been very successful, and it's something that we think is going to be rolled out across Europe. So I guess to summarize, if there's a kind of a call to action or a takeaway or one thing, if you want to keep it in your mind, is that we're looking to you, to the IoT community, to help us build this industrial IoT ecosystem that will be made up of software and systems integrators. We've got great platforms to help deliver that software, those solutions on, and we're really interested in working with you in our labs in Limerick, and if to help you go global, we have the reach to do that as well. So, thank you very much.